What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Here for the Truth podcast. Every time I do an intro, I feel like I have to announce that I get to do an intro this time. But my name is Yerasimos, and obviously my co-host, my brother, someone I deeply respect and admire, Joel Rafidi, is here with me. And make sure to check out his new album, Scorpio, that just came out, first and foremost. But we have someone really special coming back for the fourth time, Jason Christoff. I think many of you know how I feel about him. He's someone who's had an impact in my life. I love Jason. I love the work that he's done for the last 20 plus years in raising awareness on how humanity is being mind controlled and conditioned to live lives that go against being and living healthfully and vital and vibrant. And so this conversation is great. We get personal. We talk about our lives. We talk about Jason's experiences recently around the world, speaking at different parliaments. And we just cover a bunch of different subjects. So I think you all are going to really get a lot out of this conversation and what we talk about. And I'm just really excited that he was able to come back on and share some time with us. But before we bring Jason on, we just want to let you know about our free school community. It's on the school platform, SKOOL. The link will be in the show notes. But if you want to come on there, engage with people that are interested in similar topics all around the world, just join us. It's for free.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. It's school, skool.com/here for the truth. There's a couple membership questions, then we'll let you in and we can connect. And one thing I want to mention, thank you so much for the incredible feedback on Scorpio, which has now been out, I guess, for a couple of weeks by the time that you hear this. And I want to mention that I don't go by a particular rap name or rap moniker or artist name. To find the music, just search for Joel Rafidi on whatever platform. And that's how you're going to find it. So you can search Joel Rafidi on Spotify, Apple, and you can come across the album. And if you vibe it, send me a message, let me know. Or if you end up in our school community, you can hit me up there as well. Please enjoy this episode.
You are now listening to the Here for the Truth podcast, hosted by Joel Rafidi and Yerasimos.
All right, everybody. We have the return of Jason Christoff. This is his fourth time on Here for the Truth. This is a man that I don't believe needs an introduction this time around. You can check out his previous episodes with us, episodes 24, 83, and 157. Mr. Christoff, welcome back.
Hello, gentlemen. It's good to see you. You both look fantastic.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Always looking forward to these conversations. What's been happening in your life since we last spoke? Like, what's going on?
Well, I'm in Latvia still. I have Christine in my life. I met her at Anarchapulco and pursued her. And I didn't know she was from Latvia. I should have asked maybe before, while we were dating in Mexico. But I traveled to Latvia many times, and now I have my nomad visa. So I'm allowed to stay here sort of like a year at a time. So I don't have to, that was hard with the dating, is you're only allowed to stay 90 days and then you have to leave again. So that's where I am right now, Latvia. I am going back to Puerto Vallarta for 3 months in the spring. And then there's another speaking gig, this parliamentary tour that we're doing with this group. I can't say where the next gig is, but it's pretty big. And that's really all I'm doing right now. I'm running my course and just trying. I've been writing every day. I'm back to writing, and that really helps me sort of get the word out and educate my the people who grace me their eyes every day. I just try to get deeper knowledge into them and get them prepared. It's not about educating right now. It's just sort of hoping that they're making some smart moves. So that's all I'm really doing.
Yeah, real quickly, how did this whole talking in front of in government parliaments, how did it get started? So I remember your first one. I don't know when it was, and then I feel like a new one's come up a few times.
Yeah, the first one was at the European Parliament. So basically, I used to give talks for Vaccine Choice Canada. And there's a doctor in there, Dr. Stephen Malthouse. I don't know if you know him. He was in the movie Uninformed Consent. It was a Canadian documentary about what went down between 2020 and 2024. And he had heard a lot of my presentations, and he was in this traveling group trying to bend the ears of parliamentary members that they that they had been conned quite a bit. So everybody was talking about the heart attacks and the strokes and the blood clots and the deaths and lost efficiency in the economy. And Stephen Malthouse rightfully recognized that this is all symptoms of mind control. If everybody knew how to recognize the characteristics of a psyop, maybe not as many people would have bit into it. So they asked me if I could come and speak to it. And of course, there's the characters inside that are routinely attacked on social media. Robert Malone, Pierre Corey, Ryan Cole, and say 50 other people in that category. And I just tell people, look, I'm here. I go there to educate on mind control and brainwashing. And not everybody there agrees with everything the other speakers say, but I'm happy that everybody in the group is at least saying, stop taking this one particular push under the skin. At least I see that we're saving kids in that right.
Yeah. I think it's really good to have that, because we see it too often where people want to agree with everything a person says. And if they don't agree with one thing, they just like completely dismiss everything this person has to say. And so to have these events where people can come together and go, hey, okay, maybe I don't agree with you here, but I agree with you there. Like, that's what we need moving forward. Things have just gotten too polarized. People are throwing away the baby with the bathwater. And we're in I think the mess we're in because of that. And part of that is because of the brainwashing, that people have been put in this state to just like think everyone as the other and as the enemy because you disagree with them on one subject.
Yeah, and the subject, I mean, a lot of people would disagree, is the talk on the viruses, right? And regardless of where I stand is, okay, that's the position you're talking from. But if we don't address the science of virology, I don't think we're going to get out of this. So for me, it's a very important issue, because you can't have lockdowns and quarantines. And I mean, just look at the pets. Pet vaccination is based on virology, human vaccination. Like, if people still believe that something invisible is floating in the air that can kill them, this is never going to end, because you can't. I mean, the reason for the 15-minute cities, or basically, let's say this, they want to get rid of meat. They want to get rid of cows and pigs and chickens. And then they want to weaponize nature as to scare people enough to put a wall between themselves and nature, saying that there's wild viruses in the natural world that can jump over into your city. So we're going to have to lock everybody in these cities. And none of this is true. So you can see none of the positions the ruling group is taking is possible without the science of virology, which has major flaws in it. And you can see, as a mind control researcher, I see they've been really working on this, because we know they use the Fabianistic approach, right? Which is they work in 100 or 200 or 300 year blocks, where the average person can't even work in like 3-day blocks or 3-hour blocks. So it confuses the average person. But they've been working this. They know where they always wanted to go hundreds of years ago. And they knew that that foundational cornerstone, which is actually a ritual in Freemasonry to lay the cornerstone. The foundational cornerstone of this entire attack is virology. So if no one in the upper echelon, the people that are given the limelight, and they might be even given the limelight because they're not questioning it. Like as soon as you get like a Michael Yeadon, I don't know if you've seen Michael Yeadon going off lately, but you can see they turn him down real low now. And everybody's thinking he's completely lost, but he hasn't lost his mind. He's only looked into the research beyond his programming. And although he's discovered that virology has some major holes in it, you could drive the Titanic through, that, he's not realizing that this is the cornerstone. all the movies, all the virus movies, all the zombie movies, all the vaccine save the day, they're all in the same genre. They're all there to imprint on us this false paradigm. And they've known it's false since the day they kicked out Antoine Beauchamp and brought in Louis Pasteur, right? Because one gives the public the control, one theory, the viral theory of disease causation, takes power away from the public, which is sort of what this group does. It's always about disempowerment. So I speak on mind control. I don't say, I've been happy to hear there is progression when I hear them speak. So I think someone's gonna go there.
Yeah.
Eventually. I could name him. I'm not going to name him, but I think one of the big doctors might go and challenge and just say, this, the reason we're getting attacked, all these World Economic Forum policies, they all revolve around that theory of viral transmission. Because that's what they're going to say is you can't eat chicken or beef or pork because you might eat it and you might get sick and then spread it to someone else. So we're going to have to control your food supply. We're going to have to control like what plants get in your area, what's growing in your 15-minute city. Like you can see the cornerstone here is this theory.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think the Mexicans are giving up pork, man.
You never know. Like this group, I've studied some of these mind control experiments, and when I see what mind control can do, just look at the U.S. election buildup. I know. The place is going, this is the power of mind control. And if they want us to go there, they can get us there pretty quick, or they can get a good chunk of us there pretty quick. So this is why I always try to go to these events and just try to educate. A lot of the parliamentary members that listen to my talks, they find it easier to take in because I'm not talking about, the off subject, the out of bounds topics inside the government structure. So they're really interested in the mind control. So I did European Union. I did the Romanian Palace of the Parliament. I did the U.S. Senate. That was, I don't know. We talked about that last time, didn't we? When Senator Ron Johnson asked me who they were.
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, Senator Ron Johnson leaned in. So I gave my little 5-minute speech. We had a 5-minute limitation. It was a COVID roundtable in the U.S. Senate in the Kennedy caucus room. And I don't know if I was getting ambushed or not, but Senator Johnson said, well, Jason, who are they? Who are they? And I saw Dr. Robert Malone. He kind of leaned into his mic like this and looked out of the top of his eyes. And I sidestepped that question like the best politician because I didn't want a tinfoil hat. I didn't have a tinfoil jogging suit for everybody on the round table. So I basically said, it doesn't matter who they are. These are the solutions. And then everybody just sat down in their seats and said, ooh.
Well, it's true. Yeah. You got to have a little discernment. You have to know your audience to some degree.
Absolutely. And, to get into, I thought for a second, start off with the Egyptian monument, the Washington Monument, which is an Egyptian obelisk, right? But I thought I only got 2 minutes to answer this. So there's no way you can lead into that you're dealing with an ancient death cult from the Middle East that's taken over your country step by step over the past, 250 years. You can't do that. You can't make that statement.
You should have just said, "Hey, go visit my website. I have lots of articles there for you." That could last a lifetime to read.
That could have been worse, but So that was a good tour. We did the Japanese Parliament. I just got back from that, and it's all about education. What was great about the Japanese tour in Tokyo was there was a protest of 30,000 people that we marched in, and there was a huge pushback against. There was a new rollout of supposedly a different vaccine. I don't believe it's different whatsoever, but it's called the replicon vaccine, which means if they inject me, Joel, and you and I are out at, having a piece of organic pie, I can vaccinate you because you're right next to me. So I don't believe that whatsoever, but I got those opinions to myself as well. But huge protest, and the Japanese were really pushing back. And I heard there's huge problems with people getting that shot. No one's getting it. And they're actually banning anybody that got the shot. They're banning them from stores because they believe this theory that they can spread it to other people.
Hey, Jason. Well, first of all, I love that you brought up, obviously, the subject of quote unquote virology, because I agree with you. We agree with you. We've had so many conversations on this podcast around that subject. Obviously, our friend Alec talks about it all the time in regards to, like, this is it. If, like, you could get people to not fear the air and the people around them, like, whatever they try to pull on us it's just not gonna fly. I want to ask you this. Of course, people aren't having these types of conversations, to these parliaments, but privately, when you're having dinner, like, are people discussing this? Are more people open to it, or are the people that are there still entrenched in virology?
If they're still entrenched in virology, and I tell people, look, it takes a while to wake up, right? Or get your feet under yourself with this attack. So everybody that's there, we're just working their normal medical and scientific jobs up until 2020. There's no researcher that was on to this group before 2020. So you can only awaken so quickly, and you can only move as quickly as your mind will allow you. You're rocking the very foundation of their existence, is their very identity.
Yeah, their last 30, 40 years of their career, as well.
Right. And I haven't, I don't rank them, lesser in any way. I just know, I will publicly say, if we don't address this, if no one addresses this, this will go on. So it's no reflection on anybody in my group, but unless we start listening to more intently to this argument, because it doesn't matter if it's masking or social distancing. Even when I go back to Mexico, I think, Joel, you might know this, you show up at a Mexican airport and there's some dog, right, sniffing your bag, like sniffing your luggage, because you might have food, and there's these big food garbage bins because they don't want you bringing the food in. Well, yeah, there could be some bugs, but they're also trying to imprint the ideology that there could be viruses as well. So none of this intrusive, anti-travel, anti-human, anti-breath, you can even, I know their goals, they're going to be like, well, you can't really copulate anymore. You can't have reproductive sex. You're going to transfer the virus. You can see this being weaponized even further than what it is right now. So, I have come out and said on the Tokyo subway to a group of the doctors that, no, it wasn't real. There was no COVID. It's not real. It's fake. And they were listening, right? They were listening. And I think that might have been the first time anybody in the group had talked to them like that. And, I don't think they're going in that direction, but, it takes some prodding and pushing. And eventually, hopefully, we can all get there.
Yeah. Who's funding this tour?
The tour, basically, it's us. Like when I went to the European Union, I had to pay my own flight and my own hotel. And when I went to the Romanian parliament, the opposition party, who you would like this opposition party, they were calling out BS and from the get-go. And they were rallying people. They were out saying, don't take the shot. It's poisoned. It'll kill you. Like, these guys were aggressive. The Romanian uptake was only 20%.
Wow.
Right. So they actually flew us there, paid for our hotels, and had group dinners at night that were just absolutely fantastic. The one in Tokyo, I paid my own flight, which is, it's not cheap from Latvia to Tokyo. And the hotel was put up by the organizers.
Oh, very cool.
They're not that good at fundraising. They're trying to fundraise better for. So basically, it's there are two or three sort of founding members that tried to raise the alarm in 2020, and their first meeting was in Rome, and it was very strict, where they were told they had to wear masks. They were told they couldn't talk about the vaccines. So they just went up and took off their masks and started talking. And the girl who had sort of allowed them into Parliament to give the address said, if you take off your mask, it will be shut down. Everybody will leave and you will be escorted out. They took them off anyway, and it didn't get shut down. So they just kept talking.
Very cool.
That was in 2020. So that was at the height of... the pressure. Everybody felt that pressure. It doesn't matter who it was.
Yeah. I've never been to Japan. My wife spent a semester studying abroad there, but I hear it's like so organized and so clean and just lovely to visit. So I'm curious your personal experience.
It was so clean. It was like the inside of your house was outside. Even the construction sites. The construction sites of the U.S. and Canada, it's just a big dust cloud everywhere within like a city block of the construction site. No dirt on like their construction equipment, all pristine, no dust on the inside. They must have had to clean them every single night. It was so well organized, but also that was their Achilles heel, right? They're so obedient and so collectivized.
Collectivistic, yeah.
Yeah, the collectivistic, absolutely. So there wasn't a lot of mandating that had to be done in terms of threatening them. They just sort of said it's for the greater good. It'll help us keep working and help us be productive. And many of them fell in, to the trap. And even there was some assistance in Japan, and they came up, and they're like children. Yeah, some of them were like children, not all of them. But these, ladies that were probably 30 years old, they came up, oh, thank you for coming, and great talk, and they're very interesting about the mind control. But why are they trying to do this? Like, what's their goal? And of course, I left that, I guess, that sort of part of my personality out. The soft part, it seemed to have died a long time ago. So they said, why are they doing it? I said, well, they're just trying to kill you, and they're going to steal your house once you're dead, and kill everybody in your family so there's no one between you and your assets. And they started crying. They started crying, right? So they're very innocent. They're very nice people. And that was a bit of a social faux pas on my part. I'm sure it's not the only one I made when I was there. After, joking for a 45-minute subway ride, everybody, we found that the subways were really quiet, and it was Mark Trozy and Byron Bridle and Dr. William Mackis, and we're yelling and screaming at each other. They told us when we got off, there's no talking on the subway. So we felt like we had made some social faux pas, but you live and learn. But I really liked Tokyo. And when you go down around where we were staying, we would go, there's restaurants everywhere, and we would go to a restaurant that you probably wouldn't go into the way it looked, like if you were in your part of the world. Mm-hmm. Even you, Joel, these restaurants didn't look like they were sort of high caliber. And we would go in, it was absolutely the best food I ever had in my life. So a very unique culture, very nice people, very well organized, very clean. They're very polite. Hotel rooms are small, though.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's interesting to think about when you have a population that genuinely believes, and probably rightly so on some levels, that their government is doing the right thing by them. They live in a clean city. They feel as though they're thriving in some capacity. Then to have this other element come into play, it would be more difficult to question, I guess.
Yeah, I never thought of that, but you're absolutely right, because the social services were at the top level.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be doubting that there's a perceived authority figure looking out for your best interest. Yeah, Joe, I never thought of that. And that would have just added to people jumping in. And, they're having their fair share of deaths, their fair share of strokes and heart attacks and and permanent injuries from the shot. It's the same worldwide. It's the same. It's everywhere I've gone. It's the same sort of percentages and the same sort of mayhem and the same sort of censorship. That everything's okay. No government officials talking about it. Just like the election in the U.S., no one's bringing up Operation Warp Speed, or if they do, there's excuses about why he didn't know or what was going on. That's mind control to the nth degree.
Yeah, there's so much rationalization and justification that goes on in individuals' mind when like their politician, their savior is challenged.
Now a short break from the episode.
You know, this truth community is so diverse. There's so many different energies and so many different types that I think we come across. And this is exactly why we created the Truth Seeker Archetype Quiz, because I think it's really important on this path of self-knowledge for you to understand your tendencies and for you to understand the angles in which, or the lenses in which you're kind of seeing the world. And so if you're interested, this is a pretty fun quiz to find out your personal Truth Seeker archetype. Then we're going to put that link in the show notes as well. It's a short quiz and you'll get a result and you'll get some feedback straight away. I think it's a great way to kind of self-assess and to figure out where we might be able to tweak things a little bit. All that being said, hope you guys are enjoying this episode.
Back to the episode.
Real quickly, we could go away from Japan, but it just popped into my head. Like, whatever happened with like Fukushima? Remember when like that happened and it was like, oh my God, no, everyone's gonna die and start melting and we're not gonna eat any food, and yet people are just kind of living their lives.
This baffles my mind as well. And of course, given the tinfoil hat nature that I have, I start questioning radioactivity. That's what because even in Chernobyl, which is, I'm on the Russian border, but I hear people live all around Chernobyl now. Mm-hmm. So what's going on? I thought this would be, land that would have to be vacant for thousands of years, according to what we learned in grade 9 chemistry or whatever we read in National Geographic. But people are in and around it all the time. I'm not too sure what's happening near Fukushima, but I do know in Fukushima, they have built a new vaccine factory.
Oh, wow. Do you think like those events like Chernobyl and such potentially like, propaganda events that prevented the rise of nuclear energy?
I mean, there's so many theories. For me, it might be a land grab. It'd be a great way to grab some land, right? Like, again, there's a lot of talk these days about mining rights. I mean, if there was an area that you wanted to take as your own, wouldn't it be great to have like a chemical event or a radioactive event and just steal the whole place? I mean, there are clauses in U.S. law right now that if there is a declared emergency in the area, you can go in and sort of take it over and you don't have to allow repopulation. So I don't really know, Joel, but to me, it's not heavily suspect, but it's probably something to look into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I know we're talking about some things happening in the world, but I'm really curious, Jason. You've gone through so many different rites of passage in your life. Your hero's journey is fascinating, but especially in the last several years, like what have you learned more about yourself? Like what experiences have you had that have forced you to kind of look at yourself in a new way and look at life differently?
Well, it's basically my relationships. I mean, my two major relationships, my relationship with I don't like saying ex-wife. I find it sort of a disrespectful phrase. I would say my former marriage partner, Jennifer. So we were married for 16 years. And then coming, into another relationship with Christine. And so this has always given me the opportunity to learn, a lot about myself, how I feel comfortable, what I need in a relationship. And when I look back to the former relationship with my past wife, I really dig deep and I never judge myself in a negative way. But there's a lot of character flaws that I had inside the marriage. And it's not hard to deal with in chunks. But I had so many character flaws and basically I wasn't being genuine to myself for the entire marriage. I wasn't being true. In relation to many things. I mean, I don't want to get too, revealing because there's one other person involved. But I question my strength. I wasn't strong enough to make the hard decisions in the marriage, because the marriage basically should have ended a lot earlier than it did. And I stayed it wasn't an excuse, but you hear it a lot, right? You're staying for the children. Mm-hmm. And I love my daughter more than anything. And I watch over like a hawk. She's back, from a distance, of course, because she's back in Canada. But I tried to stay for my daughter. But, it sort of, if I was going to stay, you have to make sure to do the inner work. And so that the conflict inside of yourself between the part of you that wants to leave and the part of you that wants to stay, you can't let that conflict boil out into negative energy as you're staying. And I was good at it some of the time, but I wasn't good at it all of the time.
Yeah. You hear this so often when a relationship is kind of dragged on out of the morality of, it's for the kids. But the long-term effects of the toxicity of being in like an unloving or a relationship that no longer feels right is kind of just ends up being more of a negative than what you intended in the initial decision,
Yeah, it was. It was in many situations. And I got comfortable in that life. And the comfort is, where your dreams go to die, right?
Yeah.
And I was lucky that there were factors at the end that sort of broke it apart in a more forceful way. So it was easier for both parties to go their own way. And, life is, and even now, I don't have a house. I don't have a car. I used to live in a very nice house and have a very nice car. And it's different. I have to actually grow to embrace the instability, which I think is very difficult. Mm-hmm. I don't have a home base. I'm back and forth from Latvia, and of course the girlfriend status there. We're not married. We don't have a home. And then I go to Mexico, and it's it's a very nice accommodation in Mexico. But even myself going into this lifestyle, I'm going into it for my third year. It's the instability could really tear the average person apart, because I don't really have a place to hang my hat. Mm-hmm. But when you look at, like Yerasimos says, you're traveling all over the place. You're in Latvia, you're in Turkey, you're in Belgium, you're in Japan. It seems fantastic if you have a home. Mm-hmm. But if you're always on the road, there's some days where you're walking home at night in some foreign city. There's been plane rides where I wake up in the plane. I don't even know where I am, where I'm going, what city I'm landing in. Sometimes I'm in airports and I have to look around for the marking of what city I'm in. I don't even know what city I'm in. Mm. So this has been a big transition for me into learning a lot about myself in regards to what I need to be happy, to break away from that constant need for security and stability and enjoy this wonderful life that I have. These are the big things that are going on inside the spirit of Jason Christoff as you see him traveling the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Is like, do you feel like eventually you do want to settle somewhere, and where do you feel like that might be?
We all know the way the world is right now. So you can see that humans really only prosper when they have a home base. They have peace, they have stability, that the stress hormones go down, the prefrontal cortex opens up. I'd love to have a home in Latvia, or I really love Italy. I really love Turkey as well. But, when you talk to the people there, they say how bad it is. It doesn't matter where I go. It's in Rome, or I go to Florence, and I'm like, I love it here. I would like to get a house in the country. Oh, never do it. This place is terrible. And I'm like, this place is awesome. I love it.
Dude, I've visited so many places where I'm like, Sophie and I are like, let's move here. Let's live here. It's like, it's so funny.
So yeah, I really love Italy, and I really love I love Turkey. I love Greece, and if I got married to someone from the European Union, I could actually go and live in any of those countries, right? I could live permanently in any of those countries. I would just like to have a house, like a modest house. I don't need a lot of material items. I do like a house that has a good open concept with big windows. I like to be facing basically something beautiful. I find beautiful energy really uplifts me and it inspires me. And I do have I have my 12 dreams written down, and one of them is having a nice modest house overlooking a white sand beach with the blue water, having a nice patio on there, and just enjoying my time and writing and teaching and educating. That's my dream. And I'm very close to making it happen.
I love that dream. And I have to say, I've also loved the content over the last maybe couple of years, how you've been refocusing or at least highlighting beauty. Like I love when I come across your posts on Facebook of like somewhere you've been and a picture you've taken and just been like, life is beautiful and embrace the beauty. And it's like, it's such a nice, balance to the world's going to end and we're all hot and save yourselves.
Yeah, I really find, these are the invisible weapons. The more you investigate what's going on in the group and the ancients, what do they call it? It's not like pharmakia, but it's like they're masters of the invisible. They're trying to uglify everything. No one puts any work into or any artistic expression into the products they make anymore. Just squares and squares and squares.
Yeah.
So when you experience a beautiful thing or I even and sometimes you get inhibited too. Like, for example, I saw a Ferrari a couple weeks ago, and it's their new SUV Ferrari. I don't know if you've seen this.
I have, I think.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. And it's not that I would want that or, it has a snob appeal to me, but whoever created that, really beautiful energy, right? There's beautiful everything. There's beautiful machines, beautiful people, beautiful buildings, beautiful homes, and beautiful meals. And if you get it all hitting at one time, you become, I find you open up in very deep intellectual and spiritual ways. And that's why they're trying to
100%,
make sure we don't get it.
100%. Like it just makes you inspired in a spiritual way. And that's one thing that I found, as you know, I was living in Playa del Carmen for 2 years. The Caribbean's absolutely stunning. But for the most part, the city is incredibly ugly. It's very transitional. There's trash all over the street. And my psyche was just craving beauty. It was craving architecture. It was craving, sincere art. And then, and I wanted that for my kids as well, because I feel like that imprint of what you're looking at and what you're surrounding, it gives an imprint on the psyche of the child for sure. And so we moved a couple of months ago to San Miguel de Allende. They call it Pueblo Mágico, the Magic City. And oh my goodness, man, everywhere you look, the most stunning architecture, old style, colonial European buildings. Like the base of this culture is driven by the arts and crafts, and just spiritually, I feel so much more uplifted than I did in my entire time being there. And you realize the importance and the value of how much it actually matters to not only be surrounded by beauty, but to actually take it in, to actually be like, have the moment and be like, wow, and really let it into your psyche, let it into your field.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead, Yerasimos.
Well, no, I was just going to agree, even just things that you've said before around let's get everyone in these 15-minute cities, disconnected from nature. What is more beautiful than nature, looking at a leaf, even a bird flapping its wings right next to you, or if you're planting a fruit tree or you have an orchard and you go through the cycles of nature and the flowers are blooming, and then this little bud comes out and then the fruit grows and then you eat. I mean, it's just incredible. It's so incredible. And so I understand how it's like, no, go live in cities, stay away from the natural world and the beauty that it has for you everywhere you look.
Yeah, it's a vibration, right? This group works in vibration. They works in the invisible. Everything's about tones and frequencies. And what you just described has a very high frequency, and it can uplift our frequency. And I noticed the beauty a lot more in people. For example, like Dr. Ryan Cole, one of the people that go in this group. A lot of people don't know this man's work. Like, he builds guitars, he builds tables, he has his own lumber yard, he has 6 daughters. People don't even realize that. He has like sort of a 6-acre farm on a 25-acre area, and I think it's once or twice a year he hosts a free dinner of 100 or 150 or 250 people. He brings in like 4 celebrity chefs to put the meals on. I mean, this is a high vibrational individual. And when we were in Geneva giving a talk, and they were speaking to the organizers in Tokyo, he gave his talk in Japanese.
Wow.
And he had learned it sort of like the week before, and it was almost flawless. Like, this is a high vibrational individual. So it's not only the meals made by high vibrational people and high vibrational food, the sunsets, beautiful beaches, beautiful machinery, beautiful motorcycles. I love beautiful motorcycles, but being around beautiful people that just go out and make the best of things, I find it's very uplifting. Like, every time he walks in the room, you can just feel this man's vibration, and I get better just being around people. There's other people like Ryan, but I'm just saying we got to kind of pay that forward, and that's why I like going on vacation to nice spots, because I always come back really jacked up.
And I think that's what they're trying to take from us, and also take from the next generations more than anything else, is just the admiration of the capability of the human spirit, right? Because they're constantly trying to tell us that all humans are capable of is depravity. Like, they're trying to pin it on man. And I think it's really important that we look towards everything that man has created and everything that man has built, right? For example, the SUV Ferrari, like, a man built that, right? A human being built that, the ship, the plane, like. And I think that the foundings of America in many ways was built upon that pride of, look what man is capable of. And now all this ideological subversion is saying, no, all man is capable of is depravity and disease, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and you watch the Netflix, right? I mean, I don't, but people are drowning themselves in this low vibrational content, and they're starting to believe that this is reality. And I was writing an article today. I'm putting it out tomorrow, my predictions on the U.S. elections, but it's mostly about mind control. It's, there's only 2 paragraphs at the bottom of the article about my predictions. But if you go into the annals of MK Ultra, and I'll just give you an example. There's major components to mind control. So I don't know if you know who Ewan Cameron is. Do you guys remember Ewan Cameron at McGill University? It was the university I went to as a kid. Well, he was the one, the CIA operative at McGill University, Quebec, Canada, who did the psychic driving, which he wouldn't let people sleep for weeks at a time. You've never heard about this guy?
No. I don't think so.
Yeah. So his job, or his sort of his research, was, how do you wipe the mind clean and then reprogram it? Basically, how do you wipe the mind clean and then you can reprogram it at will? So that's a major component of mind control. Like in MK Ultra, there was all these research experiments, wipe the mind clean so that you can reprogram it. And this is what I really talked about in the article, is what's being done to America is actually a full MK Ultra attack, step by step. So a lot of people don't realize that if you take Ewan Cameron's work, where he concluded under the MK Ultra umbrella that you can wipe memory and then reprogram, they said the whole foundation here is this group, this evil, dark, and rotting group said, okay, we tied up some lady at McGill University and wiped her memory, but how can we do it to everybody? Because we're not going to be able to tie everybody down in the bed and keep them up with these endless recordings for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. We can't do it. Well, if you read Michael Nell's book, Dr. Michael Nell's, and he talked a couple times at these conferences as well, he found out that there's ingredients in the shots that wipe memory. And if you investigate it's called hippocampal neurogenesis, that's our ability to form memory. And there was ingredients in the shot that stop that. So we lose the ability to keep our long-term memories. And then I investigated hippocampal neurogenesis as well, or sort of an interference with it. Marijuana came up, caffeine came up, and alcohol came up. So what I'm doing in this new article is going down the primary components of the MK Ultra research that they discovered with individuals that they actually accomplished population-wide in the US. And that's why everybody's having a very hard time grasping that this is what Big Ambush is, because the MK Ultra program that was researched on individuals or small groups has been modified to be population-wide in the US. I'll give you one more example. I don't know if you wanted to talk about this, but it's still pretty interesting.
Sure.
There's a psychology teacher called David Hodges that was interviewed by Sarah Westall lately on her big series on mind control. And he went over the research that if you poison a mind control subject, they're so much easier to mind control. Well, who's the most poisoned population in the world? Right? Who takes the most medications per capita in the world?
Yeah.
Who takes the most vaccines per capita in the world? And if you see, who was that? There was a nutrition expert on Tucker Carlson. They also went on Joe Rogan. Do you remember their names? It was a
Terry.
couple of
Yeah. It was like a sister and brother, was it?
Sister and brother. One was a neurosurgeon, and one was he a lobbyist?
I think
the
so.
Food industry. Well, when you start going into the food,
Kelly and Casey Means.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And of course, the food babe was up, I don't know, in some congressional hearing lately. But if you investigate the U.S. food supply, it is definitely the most poisoned. So you have the most poisonous food supply with all these additives that are actually illegal in most other countries in the world. Most shots, most medications, these are all poison. So you can see.
If I can add to it, who clocks the most amount of hours of Netflix and Hollywood programming as well?
That's also in there. I was going to look for the link, but absolutely the most screen time, the most obesity, the most people that are overweight, the most diseased. So, but again, any American listening to this, you were not born like that. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of people will have a hard time processing the reality of the situation in the US right now, because the MK Ultra program, especially Kathy O'Brien has said this, I think even on an interview when I was getting interviewed alongside of her, that it does appear that all the mind control modalities that they were launching at Kathy O'Brien as an individual have been folded over not to just bigger groups, but to entire countries, which makes it, like she said, she was traumatized. She had animals killed in front of her. She had people murdered in front of her, basically because that traumatizes the nervous system, makes the person more compliant. But again, this group knows they can't do that to everybody. but you can sit the people down and make them watch actors kill each other. You can do the research and you'll see the same neurological results happen when they just watch sort of actors killing, shooting, and stabbing each other. So this is why everything's sort of turned upside down in the U.S. And if you want to get those predictions, email me at info@jchristoff.com. Sorry to do a sham wow on your show.
Hey, bro, you know, your newsletter's coming out before this episode, so drop your predictions.
Yeah, this will come out on Sunday.
Well, I'm still writing the predictions. But
he wants people to sign up for the newsletter as well.
So basically, when you deal with this thick of a mind control at that sort of level, right? Because everybody will think if I talk against Trump, I'm for Kamala, or if I talk against Kamala, I'm for Trump. I'm like Larkin Rose. I just want you to rule yourself. I think you'd be better off with all your money and all your freedoms. But the way it's a relay race, this is what the average person doesn't understand. This is a relay race in the destruction of the United States, the controlled demolition of the U.S. empire. And so the Republicans have their own way of destroying the United States, which is they're sort of false flag based. They will implement the same policies only when a false flag is organized and they say, hey, you know what? We got to do X, Y, and Z. We know you don't like it, but look at this false flag. And then the Democrats, basically, people just expect them to be evil. And so they don't even need a false flag. So they put in the same policies and procedures that the Republicans would put in, but they don't even need an excuse. They're just saying, we're just going to take your money. We're going to take your freedoms because that's how we roll in the Democrat Party. So whoever wins and whatever goes down, I will tell you, it is gonna be messy. This group we're dealing with, they like chaos. They have their goals. I'm not trying to put fear porn into anybody, but regardless of who gets in, it's gonna be the last lesson that most U.S. citizens will have to learn, the very last lesson, because I think they're gonna be let down extremely hard, and the same policies will go through regardless. And I'm going to try and name what they are and when they're going to occur, regardless of who gets into the White House.
Yeah. It's always so amusing this time of year, just seeing everyone like rail on social media, about who they're voting for. Even now, I just recently, I don't really follow things too much. If things pop up on my Instagram feed, certain people, or even like Facebook when I'm on once in a while. But like people are protesting or canceling their subscriptions to like the LA Times and the Washington Post, supposedly, because they're not endorsing someone. And it's just like, I canceled my subscription today. Like the virtue signaling, like it's just so silly.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You genuinely do not have a preference for who gets in?
A fantasy preference or a real, see, that's a hard question to answer.
Hang on. So there's no part of you that would rather Trump win than Kamala right now?
There is, let's say it was a 1% chance Trump wouldn't implement the same policies. I would rather Trump.
Yeah. I mean,
Kamala, go ahead.
Even just like on an economic level, for your own personal living, right? You'd rather Trump, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would rather, theoretically, I'd rather we all keep our own money and rule ourselves. But I find Kamala and Tim Walz, basically, they would give the devil shivers down his spine. These are the most, I know there's really evil people puppeteering the whole system. But as for evil humans out on the stage pretending that they're good people, Kamala and Tim Walz, they're up there.
Yeah.
These people are inherently evil.
This is the thing. I think from my perspective, just observing human beings, like it just seems that for all his flaws, but Trump just comes across as more himself. He comes across as being a little bit more authentic, like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's interesting, you know, it's like, I understand completely like the anarchist point of view, the anti-status. Of course, hypothetically, we all should rule ourselves, you know, government needs to be as little as possible, et cetera, you know, but a part of me is like, I guarantee that most of these people would like, a part of them would feel a little bit worse off if Kamala won, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, if you do the independent polls, like I think Rogan did a poll, I don't know if it was just his viewers, but it was 97-3 for Trump.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the mainstream polls, it's like, you know, it's not even, it doesn't even add up to 100. So I don't know where, maybe there's people that are undecided, but it was like 44-42 for Trump. So that scares me, right? Too, because they're trying to fake that it's close. There's no way it's close. I'll tell you that right now. In reality, there's no way Trump shouldn't get in. Even though I don't like politics, there's absolutely no way Trump should not get in. It should be an absolute landslide. The Democrats are inherently evil to the core, and they flaunt it, right? They flaunt it. Like someone who's watched too many horror movies, they want the world to burn. This is the person that votes for the Democrats. So yeah, I would base, I don't know where I was going with that rant, but there's a 1% chance that maybe Trump does some good stuff in there.
This has always been a sticking point for me. This has always been a sticking point for me. They want us to believe genuinely in 2020 that Joe Biden became the most popular president of all time with more votes cast in his name than any other president in history. Joe Biden, right? Yeah. And so if we take the perspective that it's all the same thing, two wings of the same bird, everyone's in bed together, and I've said this before, that means that they're asking me to buy that Trump was in on the rig. And just from my rational observation, I don't believe that. I don't believe it.
Yeah, unless it was rigged that he come back this time and, you know, get in on a slingshot, right? Like, it's really hard to tell. I'll tell people, look, if Trump brings in censorship bills, he's already done the red flag laws. You guys know what the red flag laws are?
I've heard of that, but I don't know them in detail.
Yeah, it's just basically if someone's sort of suspicious and they own a gun, the cops can come and take it. You know, this group's very good at taking away your freedom a little bit at a time. Yeah, that's not freedom, right? Like it's not that suspicious. You get your gun taken away. You have to have broken a law. So who really knows? But when you look at Operation Warp Speed, no one's talking about it. No one's debating it. How can you not be debating? Because the Operation Warp Speed, if you wanted to win, because Trump started it, wouldn't it be better for Kamala to say, hey, look, your Operation Warp Speed killed 2 million Americans and put 30 million in the hospital?
Yeah, but the thing is, there's a whole lot of Americans that, you know, think that would be a bonus for Trump, right? Oh yeah, he did Operation Warp Speed. He was the father of the vaccine. He rolled all this stuff out, you know?
Yeah, people could be so brainwashed that you're right. It could be a plus. So it's really hard to say. I just think if Trump brings in censorship online or digital ID or more versions of, you know, hate speech protection laws, then I think the American public have to ante up and know they're being had. And if they ever lock down or they ever try to get the false theory of viral disease floating again in the air and hold some kind of false emergency to trigger laws where people's freedoms are taken away, the American public, whoever voted for Trump, will have to say, yeah, you know what, we've been had. And I think it would be wise if they did so. But you're right, Joel. I mean, if Kamala came in, I'd be frightened to death.
And for those listening, I really want to recommend episode 165 of Here for the Truth, which is our first Truth Warrior roundtable between David Whitehead and Gavin Nascimento, which is specifically the second half is around Trump. And David makes some pretty powerful arguments around Operation Warp Speed, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's a lot more to it than, meets the eye on first glance. And also, like, it's just the whole, I think people get what they're ready for. The collective isn't ready for like an all spiritually enlightened, no holds barred, 100% truth on every level president. Like, fuck, man.
No, even with the concept of virology, if like someone came out in the public sphere on CNN and was like, "We found out the truth about virology," like people would like lose their minds. They're not at the level of development to accept information like that. That's like my only thing when I see how certain people won't cover certain subjects. I go, okay. Like you're in the mainstream. I don't know what that's like. I don't have millions upon millions of eyes on me or even on this podcast. So I feel like there is some discernment. I don't know. I would know what would happen if all of a sudden Trump came out on his inauguration and said, "Hey, like virology is pseudoscience and this is why, and you should look into these people that'll explain to you what it is." Like,
I'm not so black-pilled where I think it's a loss that RFK is talking to millions of people saying we should be thinking about seed oils, right? We should be thinking about vaccines. And this is like someone who's now really close and connected to Trump. Like I see all the commentary, RFK, shill, this, that. But like, is there no part of you that sees the win in that,
I see it. When I saw, what was that, Make America Healthy Again?
Yeah.
Maha. Yeah. I was like, this is fantastic. I mean, you can find lots of faults, not many faults with RFK, but you can find some with his climate change belief system and maybe some other things, his nonstop endorsement of Israel.
Yeah.
But you can see that maybe it's time to start, or is he giving Americans what they want to hear? I'm going to make things healthy. Well, we'll see what happens, but we will always, how many times have we said that we'll see what happens, we'll hope for the best?
Yeah, exactly. That's the interesting.
Time will ultimately tell.
Exactly. Time will tell. And that is the interesting with the right, is like the non-stop Israel worship, 24/7. Like it's very, very interesting for sure.
And also I'm concerned if there's any like fanatical right-wing Christian, agenda that comes to the forefront as well. Like that's concerning as well, like the extreme on that side.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Let's just hope there's some progress in regards to, unless some government official starts arresting. There have been government officials in all governments in the world that has caused the deaths of tens of millions of people. These people have to be held to account. And if they're not, I can't really endorse the whole concept of being governed and anybody giving their money to this group to fix the roads. What about my roads? I can't endorse that.
Fauci should have been arrested in the 80s.
Right, for his AIDS debacle, his HIV debacle, his AZT debacle. Yeah. And it's the same screenplay. And the guy's still out. He's still on the government handouts. Wasn't he the sexiest man of the year? No, he was he? Look that up.
I don't know.
He was Joe Rogan. Yeah, sexiest man of the year. Like the propaganda is so thick. And yeah, he should be behind bars. Walensky of the CDC, she should be behind bars. When Naomi Wolf came out where she analyzed the Pfizer papers, as soon as they launched their first review of the first, 20,000 pages, Walensky quit. But she's still getting paid, right? She's just ushered off the stage in a hurry and someone else is put on.
She'll end up on someone's board.
Yeah. We can't allow government staffers to basically go out and murder their own citizens and be walking the streets. This has got to be we have to go back to that basic foundation. That the rule of law has to come back.
Yeah. That's the thing. When you see just these people do these heinous acts, do these heinous things, and just be walking around and then be propped up again into the public sphere. It's like, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's my thing too. Like, if let's say Trump wins and RFK has aligned himself with him, RFK has spoken so often about going after these 3-letter agencies, and so if that doesn't happen, then like, okay, yeah, that was all talk. Unless, are they able to? Does anyone
Exactly.
have
Are
that
they able
power?
to? Like, what is the practicality and reality of once you're in, of actually executing?
Like,
in
the
this
system's a
dark,
beast.
deep fucking web.
It's so entrenched. Like, can can 2 people make a shift? I don't know.
Someone's got to, this is murder. We have to keep, it's not really murder in the classic sense, because it was always designed to skirt that legal pathway. It's not murder in the classic sense when you use mind control to trick someone to murder themselves. This is sort of their legal segue out of the system. Is because no government official held anybody down. So there was a complete bypass of the legal protections. And it was the Smith-Mund Act. The Smith-Mund Act was the law that Obama changed. I don't know when it was, what year it was, but inside that act, it was the National Defense Authorization Act. In that act, propaganda being used on the American people was always illegal. And that, again, was about changing the law to bypass the legal system where they could legalize propaganda on the U.S. population. You could propagandize U.S. citizens to wait in line and euthanize themselves, and you don't have a legal leg to stand on for firing back at them. It's very elaborate and it's very evil. And some of these people really have to go to jail.
Yeah. Man. It's such exciting times too. Like, I know there's so much fear mongering out there, but at the same time, like, I don't think we've ever experienced, like, I know every election has its own stuff around it, but like this one feels really different.
It's like when you've actually internally felt like you've extracted yourself from the system, you're not really dependent on who the hell wins. You're not entrenched in it. You can look at it and be like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's better to have a Trump and an RFK than like a Bush and a Cheney, and just seeing the same fucking jerk off happen. Like,
yeah, and that's the entertainment piece, and even like the curiosity that's, that's coming from me, where it's like, well, this just feels a little different. But like you said, true, I'm gonna live my life unless a tank shows up on my road. Like, not much is gonna change. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing unless they completely take out the internet. I'm going to be living my life with my wife, building community, working on the land, planting fruit trees. I'm going to be doing my thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think you're right, Yerasimos, to look at the bright side, right? There's never been so many good documentaries. There's never been so many good interviews. There's never been so many good conferences. I can't keep up. Like, the information that's coming out right now on mind control or government shenanigans, we've never seen anything like it in our lifetime. You can't even keep up. Before, it'd be just like slow trickles. You'd hear a little bit of corruption here. It's like trying to drink through a fire hose at this point. But the documentaries, I find the documentaries people are making are absolutely fantastic, and they're making huge impacts. I'm really happy about that.
The reality is we're all attending the funeral of legacy media in real time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a small percentage of people that sit in front of their TVs, I think, and are like waiting for every CNN show to show up on both sides. I think like the new generations, things are shifting. People are watching their podcasts, they're looking for their information online. So things are definitely changing on that front.
Yeah.
I find there's many days where I think there's so much information getting out, the public's going to push this over. Mm-hmm. They're really going to move into something new and beautiful and different and uplifting. But of course, when you look out, they're still voting or they're not taking, it takes everything you can to keep mentally stable in the environment in which we're being exposed to. And I think that's a great challenge. Well, I think it really makes people strong.
You need purpose. In all things, you need purpose. If you have purpose, you can be stable. You have something to focus your energy towards. You have something you value, right? You need responsibility, you need purpose, and all this shit. It doesn't matter, right? Like
Yeah.
for this to be like such a huge part of your world, you know, where like one thing can like cause such destabilization, that just tells me you're lacking purpose.
Well, think about it in general, even with sports. You know, Jason, I know you've talked about this stuff, you know, my team versus your team. Like a lot of people, like their lives revolve around, especially if they're not living on purpose, if they have jobs, maybe they're not super into, you know, they do it because they have to do it. But like, it's all about the game. It's all about your team winning. And so this is all that on steroids. So I think the people that get more sucked into this stuff are, one, the people that don't have a lot of self-love and are living on purpose, because it's like, I don't have to deal with my shit. I can get sucked into the theatrics of blue versus red in that regards. But I do think things are shifting, even with the whole vaccine conversation. I've had, you know, I come from New York City. I acted in the past. I have friends that would consider themselves more liberal. And, you know, I've had conversations with a bunch of people that like, they see what happened. They have a different view on the last few years. And a lot of them aren't down with a lot of the gender ideology and that whole agenda. So you might have a small percentage of people that are hardcore, like believing the narrative on all fronts. But I think more and more people are becoming a little bit more sensible. Now, we may disagree on certain things, maybe abortion or guns or whatever. But generally speaking, I think more people are seeing, they're like, something's off. Like, I don't know if I can trust my government. Like, the media definitely kind of lies. And I'm curious to see like what that tipping point will be and how things will unfold on that front.
My perspective is that in the long run, exactly what you're speaking to is going to be the reason and the catalyst that people turn back towards themselves, that the younger generation starts realizing there is no healthy guidelines, no healthy rules, no healthy role models really that are being presented to me. And so I need to find myself. I need to find self-assurance, self-responsibility. I need to learn to trust my own mind. And on a larger scale, on God's level, perhaps, is this everything that was necessary for people to come to the path of individuation, right? Did the trust and the sensibility have to crumble to such a great degree so then people can start being out in the wilderness, fighting themselves on a deeper level? And part of me says probably.
Yeah, and as someone who's been speaking against vaccines for 25 years, I'm overjoyed that the vaccine rates are plummeting everywhere. And it's not just for COVID or boosters, it's for every vaccine. Children are being saved, more souls are being saved, brains are being maintained, and even seniors are turning away from the vaccines. So worst comes, I mean, the bare minimum, we've made huge inroads over the past 4 years where this group has laid its cards bare on the table, and the average person has at least come to the conclusion that these shots are not as advertised. And I've been trying to get that point across for 25 years. So I'm overjoyed that everybody's waking up, that you can't inject health into yourself with poisons, no less.
Agreed.
Amen to that.
I like that. I love that.
Yeah.
So what else you want to talk about?
What's your favorite food, Jason? Like, you travel all these places. What do you
I feel
love?
like you did this last time.
Did I ask him his favorite food last
I think
time?
we went to a lull when you went into
I don't know.
My favorite food, Christine makes a great homemade tomato soup out of her garden, and she makes great roast chicken. That's like my favorite.
Well, I just love getting personal with you too, because, you know, you're in the public sphere, you share about all this knowledge and information, but I feel like, you know, like, who's the real Jason Christoff? You know, let us know.
He's a little different. I mean, you know, I'm a cuddler at night. I like to cuddle up to Christine.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's your personal information.
Physical contact is your number one love language. I don't know if you've ever taken that quiz.
Yeah, you're the second person in 2 days to tell me to take that test. So I'll read that book or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never read the book.
language.
I think it's Gary Chapman or whoever is the author, but it's a quiz on, like, you know, different people have different like main love languages, and it's like 5 different ones: physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and gifts. And obviously there's a different ranking based on your questionnaire. So sometimes people in partnership, they're like, they're giving love the way they want to receive love and not understanding that there's a difference. I'm fortunate my wife and I have the same top 3, so it kind of like works. But gifts. No, it's my last. Acts of service and gifts are like 0 for me. Physical touch blows away. I'm Greek, it blows away everything. And then words of affirmation and quality time. Pretty much, I tell people like, spend time with me, touch me, and tell me how amazing I am. And that's all I need.
That's the ticket.
That's the ticket.
I'm like that as well. I mean, I got a great partner. She's always grabbing my hand, walking down the road. That was the thing, the big difference between dating North American women and dating European. This is my first European woman, but the European women, they're very close. They will mark you as theirs, not to drive other sort of females away, which is sometimes what the females do, but basically to say, I'm very proud to be with you. Right. So this is a big step up from what maybe I was just dating the wrong women. Let's just put that out there. Not all women are like that, but basically I find that the European women, because I've seen a lot of them when I go out, they stay very close. They're very loyal. They will lean. They will not leave the side of their mate at a dinner party for too long. So this sort of loyalty and close contact, it's not something I need. It's just something that's a change, and it's very nice to feel that.
Yeah, we're releasing an article tomorrow as well. It says Jason Christoff stereotypes all North American women.
And Jason's a cuddler. Tune in next podcast. See what Jason likes. Do you like the spooning position? Do you like the cuddle? Yeah. So
Jason's the big spoon, though. Of course, got to be the big spoon. But I don't know. Maybe 1% of the time, But yeah, I think it's important, and I think it's important in the relationships for as a man to feel honored and respected. I just think it's necessary to some degree. And again, it's not about needing it. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, all my past relationships and the people I've been in love with validate me, tell me how great I am. But it's just nice. Like, you're busy being yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself, being on purpose, living your life, and there's someone in your life that sees that and honors you and respects you.
Yeah. And I have that now. And she recognizes my hard work, recognizes what I do. She travels with me to the speaking events. And I don't know if you remember the story I wrote about her. I was trying to impress her, probably not rightfully walking the genuine path exactly. But when I was at Acapulco, they were ushering me into the VIP party after I was trying to leave, because it was like $250 to get in. It was all you can drink. So I said, look, I'm just going to pass on that. They said, well, come in. You're a VIP anyway. Just come on in. You don't have to pay. So that's when they were just strangers next to me on the bus. So I wanted to try and impress Christine. So I grabbed her and said, I won't come into the VIP party unless I bring this girl and her friends, right? Trying to flex my micro fame. So they got us in. They got us in the door. And Christine wasn't impressed whatsoever. She left me like, this is the first time I met her. She didn't care whatsoever. She was just happy she got in and she could dance. So that was pretty funny. But she's totally genuine. I had to bring all my best moves. That one didn't work whatsoever.
Well, I don't know. It worked on some level, though. The seed was planted. And
no, it wasn't. I had to work a lot harder.
Man.
Jason, when I guess you spoke before about your previous relationship ending and like you leaving to Mexico initially, and like in those super dark moments where it felt as though like things were crumbling, did you imagine then that you could be experiencing like this level of contentment and joy, and that life would kind of come back full circle and like you would experience new and greater things?
I had the hope it could, but there was always that doubt. Right, that you could make it happen. Maybe this is the end of the road. This is the last relationship you'll be in. Maybe it'll be maybe you're going to be single for the rest of your life. But that didn't scare me either. I just said maybe we're inside a transition period, but I gained a lot of strength in that. By going through those hard times, you realize you could go through some harder, you could elongate the dark period. It's not going to kill you. Right? Like I do it like even, I'll tell you a story about learning the lesson of strength over and over again. I've sold out 8 semesters of my program, 8 in a row. And I think Yerasimos, you were in semester number 1.
Well, I took I have to be honest too. I did the first one because I wanted to come to Canada and meet you and hang out with you. And then
I know.
COVID
And then
happened and they canceled it.
I know.
Well,
yeah. So that's how long I've been doing it, right?
Good.
And so about just a week ago, we were, I was leaving Turkey and we have a sellout mark of 100 people. And as I was leaving Turkey, I checked the numbers, it's only 40. And for the first time in my life, I said, nah, maybe we'll get there. I'm confident we'll get there. I'm not going to worry about it. It's the first time in my life. And yesterday, we crossed the finish line on that. Well, we got the 9 sellout last night.
amazing.
So it's important to have confidence in your abilities. And sometimes you have to prove yourself over and over and over again before that confidence really sinks in. But I think on many levels, the confidence has sunk in that whatever the world throws at me, I'll make it.
Mm-hmm.
I might not make it with flying colors, but I'll make it. And that'll help you sleep at night and it'll keep your cortisol down. That you don't have to be walking around paranoid or afraid or looking over your shoulder your entire life. I remember I was in business for 28 years straight. And I always thought, oh, this will be my last year. Or maybe I won't be able to make the rent next year, next month. And I did 28 years in a row. I closed myself down. I imagine the enjoyment I lost from never having the confidence that everything would be okay.
Yeah.
So that's a big lesson for me is enjoy your life and just know that you have skills that are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And, have the confidence to admit that to yourself. I guess have the confidence to admit it on a podcast, the tens of thousands of people that are going to be watching. But just know you're going to be okay. And you don't have to always put out tons and tons of content. Just relax and take in the world and take in the achievements and celebrate the success sometimes instead of just fumbling over yourself to the next agenda for your, the next article, the next program, the next this, the next that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I hear what you're saying. I love what you're saying. And it's stuff that Joel and I do our best to talk about, even in our group coaching program, Rise Above the Herd. Self-esteem is a big piece of it. And, what is self-esteem beyond being able to navigate life and handle handle the challenges that come your way. And again, from a nervous system standpoint too, like the work you're doing on to build greater capacity within your nervous system to navigate life, to deal with things, to even be able to experience fully like the discomforts and the pains and the anger and the sadness, as opposed to run away from it and to self-medicate and not get the lessons and the somatic experiences of what these emotions are trying to teach you and tell you. So it's super important. It's something that I try to continue to focus on in my own life, and I'm just grateful for you, Jason, and the work that you've done, continue to do, and let's keep rising.
Absolutely. How's your program going, gentlemen?
Good. We just began our 11th run. We're in like week 2, and we have a great group of people, and we love it. We're always tweaking, we're always growing, and any opportunity to support people to step more into the things that you're talking about and we're talking about here, to like love themselves more, be more on purpose, take these risks, to go after the things that they love, to put things into action. Because when you do that, I think we all know this and we've experienced it in our own life. When we make that bold choice if we leave the relationship, we change the job, or we start a business, or we move to a new place, that's when the forces of nature, those unseen forces come to guide you and bring certain people and experiences and circumstances into your life. And that's where you go like, God, are you watching? Like what the magic, like there's this magic that occurs. I've had countless examples in my life where I go, why, how is this happening? Like, how did this person just cross in front of me on the street? And then I met this person and we had this deep conversation and this amazing opportunity came forth because of that. But if I was just sitting in the comfort, in the complacency, in the stagnancy of like, oh, one day I'll do that, then what happens? But when you say, hey, you know what, this doesn't feel right in my body. Like, I don't want to stay at this job. You know what, I'm taking my savings. I'm going to travel all around the world. I'm going to read this book because I want to read this book. Like, this is when the miracles happen in life. Yeah. But if you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs, like you're just kicking the can down the road. It's like 10 years later, 20 years later. Oh, why is my life this way? Why are my relationships this way? Why do I feel this way? Well, it's because you haven't had the self-esteem and the self-responsibility to do something about it. And it doesn't mean when you make a choice, that's going to immediately lead you to roses and butterflies and money and fame or whatever it is. Often that first choice is going to lead you to the depths of who you are and the pain that is necessary for you to feel to guide you to the next level of your evolution and growth.
Well said, Yerasimos.
Damn. That's why people pay us the big bucks, bro. That monologue right there.
But it's like people overcomplicate things, but in a lot of ways it's simple, but the complications come because we've been conditioned from so many angles, from family, from society, from all the mind control programming, and we've lost this connection to this essence that is only yours. My 100%. Essence is mine. Your essence is yours, Jason. Like who you are and what you can do, sure, we may have some similarities in worldviews, but like I can't do what you do. There's things that no one else can bring forth in the world besides me, besides you, besides the individual listening to this. So find that. Figure out what that is. Do what you have to do to peel away the bullshit that's keeping you from being incredible and awesome and amazing and giving your gift first to yourself. And then hopefully when you give that gift, people around you benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
I think like pretty much all of the existential pain and ailments that people feel is the result of them fearfully avoiding their heroic, authentic path, And the longer you put it off, the more numbed out you become to this existential pain.
And I find too, I've had 3 or 4 people email me in the past week asking me, they've stopped the progression. They're working with someone and they're trying to deal with the trauma. And it's good to deal with the trauma, but a couple of those people have emailed me last year, the year before that, and they're still stuck in the trauma. And I tell people my best advice for you is, look, when I travel, I'm speaking at, say, the EU Parliament, I got my trauma in a bag right next to me. Like it comes with me everywhere it goes. It's a lot lighter bag, but it's not like I'm going to mark myself as trauma-free as the only qualification to go out and do this crazy shit. Right? Like when I was at the European Union, I was mortified. I was like terrified to go up there and talk. You can't see it. It looks like I'm completely confident. That's what I love. No matter how nervous I am, you can't see it on the camera. So it's perfect. It works out perfect for me. And I wanted to even get some reassurance. In my group, we were marched up in groups of 4. And in my group, guess who's next to me in my group? Pierre Corey, Dr. Pierre Corey. And I wanted to say something with him just to try and let some energy out because his nervous energy's inside me. He's sleeping. I had to wake him up to get him up on the stage, right? So I tell people, it doesn't matter if I was in Tokyo or European Union, the Romanian Palace of the Parliament. I spoke at that 30,000 people rally downtown Tokyo, Japan. I'm just understand that when you go out and do different stuff or you take a step up, your trauma is always there, and don't wait for your trauma to be gone before you make the big break. Just carry it around with you. And it gets smaller and smaller, or maybe you just get stronger and stronger at carrying it. I'm not too sure. But I've never made huge steps up financially or huge steps up like on a big stage where lots of people are watching. Like in Washington at the U.S. Senate, there was 30 TV cameras around, right? ABC, NBC, everybody was filming it. I was less nervous there than anywhere else. But when you get invited, just when you're going to make a step up, don't make it a don't think the criteria to move up is when you're finally free and clear and that you got your shit together, because your shit will never be completely together, but you hold it together to make that step up. I think that's important to know.
Yeah, I agree, man.
That's the heroic path.
Yeah, and you actually give the quote unquote shit a chance to resolve when you take the external action to grow, to step up, to level up, and very often by refusing to act and refusing to move without purpose, things become stagnant and virile. We just end up stewing in that shit.
And it's important for the individual to decipher like a decision that's coming from a place of this is truly what I want, or the fear-based decision that keeps you from doing something that on some deep level you want. And so I think about that too, like being invited to talk at different events. Like someone invites me and I'm like, yeah, this feels right. Yes, of course, leading up to it, there's nerves, and right before you go on, there's nerves, but then you work through that and you still do it. And then it's done. And then there's that moment of like, and you're like, okay, I've shared some knowledge. I've given my gift. People have been impacted by it. And then life goes on. Like, what is this perfection of like, I'm fully healed. And once I have everything figured out, then I'll start my business, or then I'll get into a relationship. Like, sure, I get it. There's this dance between you got to do your inner work, but like, there's a whole world out there waiting to be lived and to go into it. You have to meet it. And then you meet it and you get data from the experiences you have and go, oh, okay, I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I should do this differently in my business. And then you keep going. Like you're always getting like mirrored back to you the data that you need in order to keep growing. But if you're sitting there doing nothing, then you're not getting data really.
Yeah, I just find I bring the fear with me. And then once the talk's over, I look at my fear and saying, see, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
It was not, you can do it. You can handle it. So sometimes you have to prove it to yourself that you can go out and pull it off, right? Even if you're nervous, you just got to make that step up and do it. And if you happen to trip up, which I never have on the public stage, if you happen to trip up, maybe you don't get invited the next time. Maybe you do, but you never know. You got to make that. You got to make the effort. You got to make that leap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another classic in the books, man.
Yeah, you look like John Travolta. That's who it is. He looks like a young John Travolta. Have you ever heard that before?
No, I've never heard that before. No.
He's letting his hair grow out, so that could be why.
But you came into the podcast saying I look like John Travolta from Saturday Night. Was it?
He does. He's got the white. He totally does. That's why he got in my brain. I said I look like Denny Terrio, which is John Travolta's dance teacher. You actually look like John Travolta in like Grease with the white sweater on. Sorry about that. It's a good look. John Travolta was a good looking guy.
I'll take it, man.
Yeah. I love it. I love you both so much. I mean, I feel like every episode, because I don't know if everyone listens to every episode we have, but I always have to say it. Like, I just love you, Jason. I'm so grateful for you too. Like you were, when that phrase comes, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Like you're someone that had an influence in my life. And like, while I shared, I think a lot of views around health, you were out there talking about it for years. And then I remember coming across you on Facebook, I don't know, maybe 10 plus years ago. And I was like, who is this guy? He's just like posting 15, 20 times a day about all this stuff, alternative research, health, vaccines, caffeine, alcohol. And like, on some level, sure, maybe this is something I was born to do in my own way, but like you inspired me, like I saw what you were doing and I was like, I want to speak out more. I want to make my mark in a certain way. And I want to honor you for that, man, because it's like, I'm just really grateful, I'm really grateful.
Thanks. I mean, it's beautiful to hear. I'm not good at taking compliments or flattery, but I'll take that. And I'm just happy you were there listening and basically how I could ignite your power. inside of you. So that's why I was doing it. And people did that to me. I know what it feels like. Dr. Russell Blaylock, great speaker, did that for me. I thought, I want to be just like this guy, calm, cool, collective, just laying out the facts. So thanks for being there, and thanks for leading, Yerasimos. You
Thanks,
too,
man.
Joel.
Thanks, man. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Jason, I guess just before we wrap this one up, anything you want to direct our audience towards that you got happening at the moment?
Well, nothing really. I'm only teaching a couple of times a year now. You could definitely, if people are interested in like the mind control, brainwashing, propaganda, behavior modification, it's good to know so that you could analyze any situation and see if people are, getting sucked into the group pressure, or maybe making it an affiliation, like a cult affiliation, or making the affiliation their identity or something like that. It's just good to have a background in behavioral psychology. They can get on my email list, email me personally at info@jchristoff.com. And I send out reports about 4 times a week, and I run programs twice a year. And it's a great way to stay educated on things that interest me, which is, they're always pretty interesting to the average persons. So if anybody wants any of that information, I'm there for them.
Yeah. And do you still sell, your original presentations and mind control from however many years back, do you still sell them? Because I just feel like they're such a great primer and intro.
Yeah, I do. I just did a brand new one, 2024 talk on the top 10 media and government mind control tricks during COVID. People love that one. And I bundle them all as a package now. I might have 20 talks for a small fee. You can even pay monthly. But just great information if you want to understand yourself better. It's all about, it's you against you. So understand yourself first, and then you can go out and make good things happen.
And is your documentary, your Planet Mind Control, still in the works, or is
we're still working on it with Nico out of LA? But we got the first 10 minutes done. It's fantastic.
Amazing.
And every time we start going, I really like it. I really like it.
Yeah.
And every time we get going, either he gets busy with some weddings or I get busy doing something. But we're still working on it. It's still a dream.
Cool.
You know how that goes, step by step.
That's it, man. Man, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being you. Everyone else, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Smoke and mirrors, I'm seeing through the illusion. Waking up in a time, they think you're in a delusion. Somebody set the alarms, cause they be too busy snoozing. I'm in a DeLorean, fast forward in evolution.